bread. This is the bread of liberation. We didn't escape from Egypt, but we lived through Reagan. How many of you have ever heard of the Diggers?
The Diggers.
Yes. Who are the Diggers?
They were a farming collective, pretty old in Britain. It was kind of like a workers' movement back in the day.
And the aristocracy under Cromwell was enclosing formerly communal lands, the commons. And the group called the Diggers took back the enclosed lands, tore the fences down, and started growing food again, for which they all got hung. But the Diggers in 1966, late 1966, a group of many of whom were actors and performers at the San Francisco Mime Troupe, now Mime Troupe, which still exists, began a movement, a radical movement called the Diggers, based on several perceptions. One of which was that there was a vast amount of surplus in the country.
Wheat flour, honey,
America, you know, was overrun with excess stuff. And our concept was we could feed 10 to 30,000 people without having to spend hardly any money.
Never have bread with.
And we developed these recipes for bread, whole wheat bread. Whole wheat bread, almost nobody had heard of or used whole wheat bread.
So there's milk, water, and yeast in here, and then we'll put a starter that Steve Sullivan already put together to give it extra flavor. So we need 10 tablespoons of honey. 8, 9, 10. We got the salt and the flour. Wow.
Where it began, there was a guy that used to come to All Saints Church, Episcopal Church on 4th Street. Really hate it. And in the basement they had a bakery there. He taught a bunch of people how to bake bread.
Wow.
They started going home and baking bread in 5 or 10 loaves in a stretch in 1 and 2 pound coffee cans.
Hey, look at those.
Is that
Smaller.
Little miniatures.
So one of the things that happened in the 60s is a bunch of people, there was an event called the Human Being. It was the first time I heard in person Timothy Leary say, turn on, turn in. And that was like a slap in the face. So, you know, our position was, hey, wait a minute. There's no infrastructure to deal with this. They're going to get creamed. Tens of thousands of young people descended on San Francisco thinking that they were entering paradise, only to find themselves in a typical big American city with a typical big American police force and predators and the lights. The Diggers were there to offer them free food, or a few of them anyways.
Chair. You worked at Japanese
From 75 to 83. No, well, I started off as a busboy and kitchen helper. I started baking as a hobby in like 1978, 79. I went to Europe on like a college student trip.
Now get some babies.
We had free meals in the Panhandle for 3.5 years, so we were constantly hustled the produce, the warehouse districts, wholesalers, looking for broken bags or bags that a few bugs had gotten into. You know, we pick out the bugs, of course. You know, in some cases we buy supplies that we lack. Maybe we'd have 1,000 pounds of flour, but we didn't have any yeast. And sometimes we had to invent, you know, creative methods of gaining supplies. Philosophy in the 60s that property is theft. Well, when it's free, it's no longer theft.
And we found that it responded well to just to just this periodic turning.
I started making bread at home again after so many years.
Naked?
Sometimes.
And then the thing about the Digger phenomenon is it was not a limited cadre of people. It was at the beginning. The whole concept was anonymity and free. That anybody who wants to come in and do what we're doing and to take over from us, we're going to be glad to do it. So there's a constant changing of hands and changing of the guard. And more people got involved. And it was a self-motivating, mobilizing phenomenon.
I'm new at this.
Okay.
There we go. Seeing if we got them those first batches in.
Digger bread was its own reality. We inherited a whole bakery. We had to go get it. We got it about 15 minutes before the bakery claimed it. And set it up in out in Novato, near Novato, at a place called Olympoli. It's now a state historical park.
I mean, it was kind of a weird hippie commune because most communes were like the people got together and they did, you know, they developed philosophies and ways of living.
They had a swimming pool. This was a ritzy commune. poured a slab right next to the swimming pool, and 2 days a week, groups of us would come up from San Francisco, take off all our clothes, and bake bread.
The kneading was done naked. Outside, it was very hot, kneading the bread, and then jumping in the swimming pool.
It was a hellish thing. Painful, no. It was great fun.
David and I at that time lived on Pierce Street, which was the Fillmore, which was the beginning of the Fillmore.
We bring literally truckloads of kids from the inner city who never had an opportunity to be outside. We'd unleash the kids, hoping that they would return when they got hungry.
They'd get out of the truck and they'd be gone. Because it was the country.
How many days a week did you go up there baking bread?
I forget, several,
Yeah?
2 or 3 days a week.
Tuesdays and Fridays a week. Remember Saturday morning we delivered the bread.
We take the bread back and we distribute it to somewhere between 250 to 400 households in Haight-Ashbury and the Fillmore. Most of the households are really needy. And a lot of mothers who really were concerned about nourishment and had access to nothing else but Wonder Bread, really valued our stuff. Our stuff was a little cruder than this.
Serious muffin top.
Tradition with bigger bread was you need a 2x4 with a nail in it to see if you could actually hammer with it.
What made it so heavy and so dense?
I don't know.
We didn't know what we were doing. Oh my God, look at that. Bread has to cool before it'll slice decently, so it's coming. There was a group called the Haight Independent Proprietors, who were the people who were making money off the counterculture. The print mint and the bookstores, and the psychedelic shops. We went to them and we offered them, it wasn't exactly extortion, but the concept was 1% free. If they would give us 1% of their gross income free, we could provide services to the counterculture. We had a Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic, operated until about 5 years ago. We opened up a free store in Cole and Carl. And there was a little balcony. We used to hang out on the balcony and watch the kids who would come in. They'd come into the free store and they knew that they were going to try and boost something.
It was stealing.
And just watch the concept of stealing from a free store was complicated. Don't walk through the frame of reference. Be careful. It'll change you in ways you can't predict. Wherever you want to be, you can step out of your own frame of reference. Up to that, you don't know what will happen. I think you're just wandering through, but there's change afoot. We're going to try and slice it.
And it slices so beautifully. Look at that.
So this is a little bit.
Yeah.
Local honey to go with it. And it's free. That was our motto.
We're getting it at the Civic Center in San Francisco.
At the Civic Center on City Hall steps.
Yeah.
We had an event in City Hall steps. We called it Invisible Government.
I also wanted to thank Jane and David for spending the day out here with us for baking bread with us.
I have to say one other thing. So this is
And then,
That's
and then
why
this,
it came out perfect. That's right.
and this oven is
You go on the
also.
other side to get the honey.
I don't know the name of it.